Ned, you've been studying consciousness for a long time. I won't ask you how many decades, but a long time. What are some of the theories of the structure of consciousness that would help us potentially to understand what it really means?
Well, the theory that I think is the most influential in the science of consciousness is a theory called the global workspace theory. Mm-hmm. First introduced by Bernard Bars, who really in some ways started the field. And the idea of that theory is that when a percept is conscious or anything is conscious, it's immediately available to your ability, your language mechanisms. You can report it, you can remember it, you can use it in reasoning. If you want to make a bet, you can use it to decide which side to bet on. So it seems to be usable for all your cognitive systems. And he called that the global workspace, the idea that it is available, that anything that's conscious is available for all your cognitive systems. Mm-hmm. And then Stan Dehaan and Jean-Pierre Changeux showed that you could model it neurally via a setup where you postulate long-range neurons connecting the back of the head to what they call the workspace area in the front of the head. And then those neurons were found to be there. And it's become pretty well confirmed as a theory of something. They think it's a theory of consciousness itself. Mm-hmm. But I think one thing that's emerged is it's not a theory of consciousness itself. And that we can see that, and this is really a lot of recent experiments have shown, I think, that we can distinguish between the phenomenal consciousness and its being in the global workspace.
Distinguish between the two?
Yeah.
Okay, so
there's a phenomenon known as binocular rivalry, mm-hmm. in which you put a stimulus in one eye, another stimulus in the other eye, and then what the subject experiences is first one and then the other with only minor combinations in between. Mm-hmm. And so when Dehaan did experiments on the global this binocular rivalry, he found the correlates of conscious experience to be in the global workspace, mainly in the front of the head. However, recent work has shown that what's really going on in the experiments he did is that what he was getting was the neural correlate of consciousness plus the processes that underlie reporting consciousness. So those things were mixed together. And many people thought you could not distinguish them. But actually, there's been a number of techniques for distinguishing them. One of them is extremely simple, which is if you see something moving to the left, you have there's an eye phenomenon called nystagmus, in which your eye drifts slightly to the left and then it goes back, and then it drifts to the left again and it goes back. Now, if your binocular rivalry stimuli are something moving to the left in one eye and something moving to the right in the other eye, you have two ways of getting the subject to tell you which one they're seeing. You can ask them, or you could press a button. If you do that, you get Dehaan's result, global workspace activation. But another way is you don't ask the subject to do anything. You just let the subject sit there, and he's experiencing first left, then right, and you use the nystagmus to clue yourself into what the experience is. If you do that, you find it's not the global workspace. It's activation in the visual areas in the back of the head. And that leads the authors of this study, Wolfgang Einhauser in Germany, and others, including me, to suggest that what's going on in the form of it where you get global workspace activation is what you're detecting is the processes underlying report. What you have to do to think about what your answer is and generate that answer.
That's very, very interesting, but that seems to undermine the initial objective of trying to explain consciousness.
No, because the consciousness appears to be the activations in the back of the head, and this.
So, you're saying but that's just the reporting of it.
No, it's the front. It's the front that correlates with the reporting. So Dehaan found the activations in the front, but if you do it in Einhauser's way, with a nystagmus, you get what correlates with the conscious experience is the activity in the back of the head. So that's, as long as you don't ask the subject to do any reporting. And in fact, it turns out the gold standard in this area is to not ask the subject to do anything, or to ask the subject to do something only much later.
But how then do you correlate what the subject is really?
Because you know what he's experiencing by the way those little movements in the eyes are indicating.
And you know the stimulus that you
and you know the stimulus,
that you use. So what's the implications of that?
The implications are that if we want to understand what consciousness is in the brain, we should be looking at these activations in the back of the head and trying to see what it is about the conscious ones that distinguishes them from the unconscious ones.
And this is this has to be generalized beyond the visual system.
Yes.
The back of the head is the visual system.
That's right, yeah.
And so are you saying primary and secondary cortical areas for sensation are critical for consciousness?
No, I think the way that we don't know how to generalize this,
right.
But it would be nice if we could do it for vision, then we might have some idea of how to apply it to the other senses, or to unconscious versus conscious thought, or emotions, or other features of the mind.
Mm. So this is really taking the neural correlates of consciousness to a much more sophisticated level.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what does that suggest about the capacity to move the research forward? Does that give you confidence?
Yes, I think we really are moving it forward. And there's a number of other experiments that have the same upshot. So, and these have only been done in the last 3 or 4 years. So I think we're getting somewhere now.